I'd like to kind of just sort of go through the agenda for the evening here for you. I'm anticipating really that only a few of you are actually kind of familiar with our process. We'll call the meeting to order, and we really only have kind of two orders of business here this evening. We want to solicit additional community input from you folks about the COVID-19 reopening plan for the school here this fall, and then we're going to attempt to take action upon the plan that has been developed here for the school corporation. Now, just a couple of words about this plan, folks. It's been based upon and it's come down to us from both the federal government and the state government with certain requirements in it. The local board here has depended heavily upon our administration, and they have sought expert advice and input just completely across the community and from experts, as well as the plan having been reviewed here by our local Board of Health. So what we'll do here tonight is I will call the meeting to order, and then we will open for public participation. Folks, I'm going to ask that you please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and please, if something's already been said, save kind of the bandwidth and the airtime for new comments, okay? As you come to the microphone down here in front, please state your name and your address so that we can correctly get that reflected in our minutes, all right? So, at this point, I'm going to officially call this July 20th, 2020 meeting of the Lafayette School Corporation Board of Trustees to order. Ms. McCarter, would you please call the roll? We can do the pledge first. I was going to call the roll first, but sure. Let's stand up and get the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now I guess we can call the roll.
Mrs. Walton? Dr. Squally?
Here.
Mr. Wagner? Mr. Velteen?
Here. Mr. Wagner's here on the phone.
Mr. Clemens?
Here.
Mr. Moulton?
Here.
Mrs. Sprague?
Okay. So, again, folks, we are here to solicit the local community's input and opinion. And folks, we're willing to stay as long as it takes to make certain that everybody who has something relevant here to say about the reopening plan gets their opportunity to do that. And so with that, again, I remind you respectfully, please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes, and I open the floor for input here. Go ahead and come on forward.
My name is Andy Baker. My address is 20 Gregory Court.
Andy, you need to flip the switch on your microphone there and get that on.
Is that better? Andy Baker, 20 Gregory Court, Lafayette, 47905. Hello, my name is Andy Baker, and I'm a teacher and a coach at Lafayette Jeff. And I thank you for allowing me to speak to all of you this evening. Many of our kids need to be at school. Their home lives are atrocious, and they are not getting the escape that they need. Some of our kids see school as a safe haven, a place, the only place, that they can really be a kid. It's very sad but true. I know of one particular student athlete that thrives at school, in the classroom, on the court, and socially. She does well because she wants to be at school and she needs to be at school. Her home life leaves a lot to be desired. She's not treated very well. She has to basically be the head of the household. She has to babysit, do laundry, clean, cook, and when we were out of school last year, she was asked to also take on a job to help pay for things. A kid should be allowed to be a kid, and I know that this student athlete is not the only LSC student that has to do these things. There are very many of them at our schools. These kids need us. They need to be at school. They need to be given the opportunity to let their guard down and trust someone. We, the teachers, can be trusted. We can be trusted to give them a place where they can be kids, a place where they can feel safe. Teachers had to go to extraordinary measures last school year, and you can be confident that we will rise to the occasion again to give them a safe, warm, welcome environment where they can be kids, where they can learn the way they're supposed to. I know for a fact that I'm a much better teacher when I'm in the classroom. I know my students are better when they're in the classroom with us. So there's a lot of kids, when they're at home, they don't have the access to the lesson or the resources necessary to accomplish the assignment. So please let us back in the building with our students. You can trust that we will be creative and find ways to keep safety our main concern. Thank you very much for your time and allowing me to speak.
Well said, Andy.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mark Bornheiser. I am the boys basketball coach and health teacher at Jeff High School. And I'm going to touch on a few things Andy just said there. And having a son, well, two sons, but one that will return next year, I know that when we went to e-learning last year, and the one that's coming back as 4.10, he wasn't as motivated to do his work. And as a teacher, almost all of my students, well, I'd say 80% of my students' grades dropped when we were doing e-learning. And the reason is because they aren't getting the one-on-one with the teacher. And a lot of you parents have your jobs, and you've got to go to work. You've got to support your family. And as a parent, I understand that, and I think a lot of you parents understand that also. I think you need to have trust in the teaching staff at Jeff and in Lafayette schools, because it's as good as I've been a lot of places when you coach basketball, you get kicked around a lot. And I've been a lot of places. This is the best teaching staff I've ever dealt with. They'll handle your children and your kids the right way. There will be a lot of people coming here tonight and talk about athletics. And I would like to talk about athletics because I'm a coach. But what I'm talking about right now is the everyday educational process. And I can tell you right now, it was dying at the end of last school year, and summer school wasn't a lot better because there wasn't any interaction with the teachers. And as I said, most of you parents, you've got a job to do. And when I saw, both of my sons are pretty good students, when I saw their work ethic drop during e-learning, I knew that this wasn't the right way to go. And in closing, I looked up some statistics, and through last Tuesday, in the United States, there were 30 children under the age of 15 that died from COVID-19. There were 190 children that died from the common flu. There's 436 kids that died from suicide. There's 625 homicides that they died from, and 4,114 unintentional deaths. I think that those last 4 or 5 stats are going to go up in the United States if we don't have school, and I think the COVID-19 isn't. I'm sure that a lot of coaches and a lot of kids are going to talk about what they feel it should be done. And I know our coaches think, by golly, we want to get back and work with our athletes. But they're teachers too, and by golly, they want to get back and get in the classroom and work with your kids and try to increase the educational process that's taking place in our schools. And the last thing that I'd like to say is socially, I think most of you people can probably figure out I'm not the world's smartest guy, but I learned more socially when I was in high school than I ever did out of a book. And a lot of you parents, I think when you think back to high school, you're probably thinking, hey, I learned a lot just by being around my teachers and my fellow classmates. And we're stealing that from them if we don't send them back to school in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Pat Shanley, and my address
address is 4540 Blackstone Court, Lafayette, Indiana, 47909. My name is Pat Shanley, and I'm a teacher and the head football coach at Jeff High School. 20 years ago, I decided to be a teacher and to live a life of service. I oftentimes reflect on the impact that my teachers had on me growing up. I have no doubt that they were essential in shaping me into the person that I am today. I know that I speak for many teachers and that we take great pride in doing everything that we can within the classroom and within the walls of Jefferson High School to provide our students with the same guidance, the same structure, and the same social support that our teachers and coaches provided to us years ago. The most difficult time that I had during my time as an educator was from March through May. Within our football program, we saw a large number of our student athletes begin to struggle, who had typically always excelled otherwise. Although I do not have the exact number, I would estimate that number to be at least 30 of our student athletes who struggled academically on a much larger scale than what we had previously seen. There was also a large increase in student athletes reaching out to either me, myself, or another coach on our staff about their struggles at home, their struggles mentally, or serious issues that they were facing through this period of time. Relatively speaking, our sample size of serving 100 football players is very small when comparing that to the size of our district. Just one example that is very personal to me. A freshman student athlete had been a straight A student up until March. While in school, he took advantage of the accommodations listed within his IEP. He used the tutor rooms during study hall, and oftentimes he came to school early to work with his teachers. By the time the grading period concluded and the percentages in Power School were changed, he went from being a straight A student to someone who is now passing just 5 classes. Why? This young man lives in a house with 8 other people, many of whom are school-aged and had to connect to the internet to complete assignments as well. Mom is disabled and does not work. In addition to trying to keep his grades up, this young man was now on his own to cook his next meal, find internet that works, help pay bills at home, and to help take care of his younger siblings, who again, were now at home as well. The sad truth is this young man is not alone. I cannot help but imagine how many students within the LSC share a similar story. In conclusion, we oftentimes tell our student athletes to use Jeff High School and to use our building as a means to create a great life for themselves. In addition to keeping our buildings open for our students, I believe it is our duty as educators to continue to provide them with the guidance, the structure, and the support that they desperately need within our buildings to continue to pursue their dreams. One student falling behind, one student slipping through the cracks, one student succumbing to mental stress or health issues is one too many. Thanks, and go Broncos.
My name is Dusty Miller. I live at 402 Club Lane, Lafayette. First of all, I want to take the opportunity to thank everybody who came together to work on this plan that they felt was the best or worked for as many people as possible. I think it's important to realize there is no perfect plan here. I'm here to say that I hope we do everything that we can to get our children in school, in person, for as many days as possible. As a kindergarten teacher, the social and emotional growth of our kindergarten children in their first year of school cannot be replicated online, even if we have the best possible remote learning. There's too much valuable growth that goes on in that first year. And the second major point I feel is we have a responsibility as a service provider within Lafayette to not only the children to take great care of them, but to the families of those children so that they can go to work and earn a living every single day and provide for their families. Thank you.
Jim Sharp, 3868 Kensington Drive, Lafayette, 47905. I also am a teacher and a coach, but talking with my students, my swimmers, their main concern, they want to be back in school so they can learn better. They struggle with the mental aspect. They don't feel motivated to get on that computer and do the e-learning. They have indicated that they feel they need to be face-to-face with their teacher so they can do better in math, do better in science, do better in foreign languages. And 2 of them that are in the Career Academy, their concern is that if I'm not there learning what I need to do after school, how am I going to go out into the workforce and do what I want to do? I think that is a big problem. And I commend everybody that's been working on this plan. As we know, not everything is perfect, but I think you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Todd Garrett, 316 Bellingham, Lafayette. I'm here tonight out of concern for our students, staff, and our families. I've communicated my view to LSC board members and to the governor himself. Most importantly, I know that after 26 years in LSC, all of our teachers left those doors open. I also know that we don't want people to literally be sick and die because we do. Opening for face-to-face instruction without proper social distancing, masks, testing, tracing measures, and cleaning procedures is dangerous and quite possibly a fatal proposition. I agree that the proper social distancing, cleaning, ventilation, masks, etc., it is possible to open more safely. However, with the physical space of our facilities, numbers that we have in class, staffing and substitutes in a state still facing severe teacher shortages, those protocols cannot be met by our corporation consistently and safely. I believe we must consider a delay in face-to-face instruction, opening virtually for a short time, not forever, simply until we see a sustained drop in positivity rates. I do propose that the delay be until the end of August, perhaps even after Labor Day. This will allow us to determine if the current uptick in positive cases in our area will continue to or begin to decline, and I also recommend a period of time once the decline begins before in-person instruction starts over. These would be according to the original. Okay, we good? This would be according to the original planning protocols of the CDC and the governor's office. During this delay, LSC should bring in teachers during the August, socially distanced and masked, of course, to help work through room design, scheduling issues, professional debriefing on virtual protocol and virus protocol, technology, Wi-Fi access. Teachers can solve the problem if we're in the building. We should then open virtually for all students in the corporation, especially the high school first, perhaps even the first quarter, as this population may be the highest risk for spread. We should also think of ways to allow special ed and other students with specific and unique needs to access the buildings and teachers during this time. We can use the space in buildings that are operating virtually and open them up to those students that need to come in still, even though we're online. Teachers should expect to run their virtual instruction in their school buildings. Those who have children of their own who need supervision should be allowed to work from home. Those teachers with underlying conditions that put them at high risk of COVID infection should also be allowed to work from home. When we do bring students in, phase them in from kindergarten up through 12th grade. This will relieve the bulk of child care concerns first and allow the safest populations to get back more quickly. Elementary students, since they face the lowest risk of infection and spread, while needing the in-person contact much more immediately, naturally should come in first. We can evaluate how to move forward and even open for in-person staging sooner if possible. I believe this way we'll have a better idea of how this pandemic is playing out in our area. Above all, we must not assume that we'll be normal this semester, and probably not this year. It's imperative that we accept the need to be radically aggressive in protecting every single one of our students and staff. This approach is temporary. Life-changing illness and death is not. Thank you for hearing my concerns.
Judd Danby, 1315 El Prado Street in Lafayette. Good evening. I teach at Jefferson High School, and I believe that e-learning is the best and safest choice for us this academic year. We know that when students have unpredictable learning and they don't feel safe, they don't learn as well. And we're facing an unpredictable and disruptive merry-go-round of illness, of absence, of school closures of unpredictable durations. Individuals will find themselves in isolation or even quarantine, wondering if or how ill they may get. And while younger persons seem perhaps less at risk for developing the most severe symptoms of COVID-19, they will have to live through the grief of cherished adults in their lives, possibly facing serious illness, hospitalization, and even death. Set against that, to be able to deploy well-planned, structured, predictable, and consistent e-learning, I think would lead to better overall academic outcomes. There's been a lot of talk that because e-learning did not work in March, it doesn't work. And I think that's a flawed conclusion. We all know how violently and suddenly it was thrust upon us in March. With little or even no prior experience, teachers, students, and their families were suddenly looking at 8 weeks of remote learning, even as they were trying to adapt to the disruptions that the pandemic was posing in their own lives at home. And of course, we had a number of waived instructional days, which had a big impact on the overall academic outcomes. And of course, they were not what any of us would hope as professional educators. When I controlled for those and looked at what remained of my curriculum, I had a different experience than some of my colleagues earlier. Actually, fewer than 10% of my students had academic outcomes in the fourth quarter that were much lower than in their previous 3 quarters. I was expecting, frankly, far more of those negative surprises. And actually, there were some wonderful positive surprises. Students who rose and thrived with e-learning, who brought a new level of energy, enthusiasm, and sophistication to their work. So I think it does work for students. And we've now had 8 weeks of experience doing it and 2 months to reflect. Teachers have learned from what worked, what didn't, how to fix what didn't. They have new techniques and tools to deploy, I think, more effective e-learning this year, just as students and parents have learned about what is best to help them work well remotely. So given the realities of this pandemic, I think that the consistency, the predictability, and the safety that e-learning would provide makes it our best and safest option. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Brent Brandstetter, 724 South 11th Street in Lafayette. I teach biology at Purdue, and my wife is a teacher at Jeff High School. Last week's meeting, and it's been spoken tonight, a lot of teachers do want to be back in school with the students, but as the CDC has suggested, if you cannot socially distance, and in any of the proposals, I've never seen a map of a room, how any of the social distancing would be carried out at Jeff High School and other schools. And so I don't see how you can come back face-to-face and not require masks at all. Regarding K through 12 age demographic, we shut down when the numbers were low across the country, so I think any conclusion from any data is premature. I don't think the numbers are there. There's lots of anecdotal, a Bible camp in Missouri, all, if not all, but close to all of the students in a high school age range came down with COVID. So they're not immune, they're adult-sized bodies, they can transmit it. So again, face masks have to be required. Also, if there is face-to-face, the WHO organization suggests, have 30 minutes of learning, then leave the room. So especially in old school buildings where the ventilation, despite what money has been spent on ventilation at the high school especially, you need time to let that room recycle a whole volume's worth of air. So I would suggest any face-to-face learning is going to be different. You need a mental break from the masks and things like that. I will echo Mr. Danby's concern that with teacher shortage, teachers are going to become ill, even if we do masks. The mental health of students, especially younger students as well, could be highly affected if a teacher in their classroom becomes ill and possibly succumbs from it. So again, masks are the best way to decrease those numbers. With regard to last spring's e-learning, right away out of the gate, there was the bailout of no students will get a grade lower than this. Graduation requirements will be, they've already been met no matter what a student does between now and the end of the school year. I know my wife had students who would contact her to tell them they're not motivated and they're not turning anything in. And some of that could be a chance to, hey, grow up a little bit, here's what you need to do. And I think any conditional grades, things like that, should be somewhat taken off the table, or at least reviewed, and a new form of that versus just an all-out, hey, nobody will get lower than a D, and you've met your graduation requirements. So thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Laura Penny-Bade, 1524 Adams Street, 47905. I'm a parent. I had a 4th grader and a 6th grader last year. I won't harp on it, but e-learning was an absolute disaster last year. I know everybody did the best they could, but it was an absolute disaster. A couple of points I want to make real quick. I don't envy your jobs, and I appreciate all the hard work you're putting into it. However, communication has been disastrous. I never got any official notification from the corporation or the schools that my kids are supposed to attend as to what the plan was. None. I found the plan, the proposed plan on the website. My concern is there are a lack of details. There's a mention of possibly trying to social distance and possibly wearing masks. As the gentleman before me said, that's not the CDC guidelines say. We need to do better. I don't have answers. I wish I did. But as a parent, I feel like you need to hear the voice of a parent. I feel like you need to hear diverse voices. So far, it's all been white men up here speaking. I think you need to hear from other people in the room, and I encourage other people to speak their views, because this is our chance to be heard. And we all want our kids to be safer. I think many of us are realistic, and we realize nobody's going to be 100% safe. But what are we going to do to keep our teachers, the staff, the teachers, safer? And it's got to involve masks. It's got to involve mandatory masks. I must say I'm extremely disappointed. You knew there was going to be a big meeting here. There are no signs up that I saw when I came in saying you must wear a mask. We have 10 or 12 people in here who've chosen not to wear a mask. Maybe some of them have medical reasons, I don't know. But the least we can do is respect each other and respect what the science is telling us, that we must social distance and we must wear masks. I don't know where we're getting the money from for these extra supplies, but we need more money. You know, we can't go around requiring kids and requiring teachers to be in classrooms if they don't have adequate supplies, shields. I don't know what's needed, but we got to do better. And I trust and hope that we will. Thank you.
My name is Colton Lehman, 3346 Trafalgar Court. I am a student athlete at Lafayette Jeff High School. One thing we're not talking enough about right now is the character and mental strength built by our teachers. I would argue that my teachers have built my character throughout these years more than my own parents have. Another big problem is the weak education we've been getting online. In the last 9 weeks of last school year, I don't think I learned a single new thing, which concerns me because when I go to college, I want to be prepared for what I'm going to have to do, and I want to learn the best that we can. The last couple chapters that we were supposed to learn just completely got swept under the rug. We didn't learn anything new. There's no way teachers can change students' lives without being in the building. For elementary school kids, it's as much of a burden on the parents as it is on the kids. I know a lot of kids can't get on their own computers, can't do all the work by themselves without their parents' help. And I know some parents are working 70 plus hours a week, and it's hard to make that happen. And not everybody can afford nannies or whatever else. I know kids, and it's not just younger kids either. I know kids that are on my own football team and my own classmates that grades have completely slipped because of e-learning. And it's because of the motivation that they need from their teachers and the accountability that they're held from by the teachers and classmates that they don't have online. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Monica Casanova. I live at 1818 State Street, 47905. I'm also a parent. I have 2 daughters, an 8th grader and a third grader. And I have to say that I'm afraid to send him to school. In fact, we've decided to keep him from school. And I'm not the only parent who feels like that. Frankly, when I read the reopening plan, I have little confidence in the plan. There's much to be desired as far as implementing social distancing. I don't know how realistic that is in classrooms, in hallways. I was an ESL aide last year at Jeff, and I have to tell you, with the construction, there was no way that you can have social distance in hallways. It's just, you know, foot-to-foot traffic, super crowded, can't move. I just don't see social distancing being a realistic choice for a lot of these schools. I am also concerned that we're not mandating masks. And I'm concerned not just for our students, our kids, I'm also concerned for our educators and our staff who we are depending on, who we are asking to risk their lives to teach our children. And I can't ask that of them. I don't want them to risk their lives, and I don't want my children to be in danger. I've also spoken with other Spanish-speaking families who are also afraid. What's also concerning is that the reopening plan is only in English. There's no other language available, no multi-language, no Spanish language when you have minority majority schools like at Jeff, Glen Acres, and other schools. So that's really disappointing. Thank you.
My name is Zeke Little, 3237 Brenner Street. I'm a 2B senior student athlete at Jeff. Just having done e-learning for the 8-9 weeks we did it, I realized that it's just a lot harder than you really think it would be. I think myself, like most students, when we first were told that we were going to be off school for a little while, I was excited. I thought it was going to be easy, cakework, just kind of be done. But quickly learned how wrong I was. It was way harder than I thought it'd be. It's nearly impossible to learn when there's no teacher to student to just hands-on teach it to you. I don't think I really either learned just about anything new at all. Second semester, I saw my own grades drop pretty bad. It was pretty rough for me. I know I myself have a little brother who's going to be in 7th grade this year, and both my parents, they work full-time jobs, so they're not home much. It was just me trying to do my own work and then also teach him whatever he needed to do, and it was a lot. It was rough. It was hard for me. It was times where I just didn't want to do anything with my day. I didn't want to go to any work. It was a lot for me to just deal with. And I know there's other students who have it way worse than I do. They might just not have anybody to depend on. They might be all alone, you never know. There's kids who need that school to be themselves, live their own lives, to sometimes even take care of them. There's kids who don't eat outside of school, don't have anybody else to depend on. And I don't know how being at home alone is going to be good for anybody, any kids, I guess, any students to learn how to live their lives after school or take care of themselves at all. I don't know how it's going to prepare kids for the future. I know myself, I want to go to college. I don't know how, from the online learning we did, I don't think I was in any way set to be prepared to go to college off that. I don't think there's any way for it to set kids forward to be able to do more with their lives after school. I just don't think there's enough ability in the online learning to get that to kids and help them. Thank you.
My name is Emily Myers, 4028 Willowwood Drive, 47905. I'm a student with an IEP, and e-learning is really, really hard for kids with IEPs. We don't have the ability to resolve IEPs. for me, I have to have extra time taking for tests, and I didn't have that this year. I'm supposed to have my test read aloud, and I still didn't have that this year. Contacting my teachers are even harder. They try to assemble it, and it just didn't work. As a student who has worked with kids who have special needs, they don't know what's going on. It's harder for them to do these things. They're used to a regular process, like a regular schedule. And with e-learning, they don't have that. They don't have the teachers that they need on site. They have it through digital learning. I don't think we can learn through digital learning. During the e-learning days this past time, I missed out on a lot. I'm a kid who's in orchestra, and I missed on ISMA contest. I missed on playing orchestra for the graduation. I'm also a kid who's in radio and TV and plans on doing it for a career, and I didn't have that on experience as I did before it. I'm also a senior, and I would kind of really like a senior year. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Doris Washington, 2203 Brady Lane. I'm a mother of 4, 9th grade, 7th grade, 5th grade, 2nd grade, 4 different schools. It was hard this past year because I also, like the last speaker said, I have 2 children that has IEP. My 5th grader, he's in special education classes. He completely broke down because he wasn't getting that one-on-one from his teacher. He lost his case manager for Wabash. He lost his therapy from Wabash. And I felt like that broke me down to see my son cry and say, "Mommy, why?" He passed with all D's. And as a mother, I really wanted to let him repeat his grade over, but I just knew that was his pride. And I just knew the reason that if he was in school, he would have been able to get all the education he needed. I work full time. I work for a nursing agency, so I'm in and out of these cities in Indiana at different nursing homes. And yes, the COVID is very, very serious. I take the COVID test probably 2, 3 times a month, so I can make sure I'm not bringing home to my children also. My husband works full time, but when they did e-learning and Subaru got laid off, he was able to be there for my kids. But now, since we're back to work, they're not gonna get that one-on-one parent-to-parent education. I was constantly emailing the teachers, sending wrong homework, taking pictures of their homework. I'm getting emails from their teachers that they're not turning in their homework. My 9th grader, I gave him an option. I said, "Do you wanna go to school if you gotta wear a mask?" He was like, "No, Mom, no." I said, "But listen, you can't even do summer school, two classes. What makes you think you could do 6 classes at home?" "No, you're going to school." Because I feel like my kids learn better when they're around their peers, their grade, and their friends. My 7th grader today started band camp today. He didn't want to go, but as soon as he entered that school, smile on his face, because he's been away from his friends, his peers, since March the 13th. So yes, I would want my children in school. The breakout happens, I would pull them out, but as a parent, we just got to protect ourselves in order to protect our children. Okay, thanks.
Good evening. My name is Kevin O'Brien. I live at 1623 South 5th Street, Lafayette, Indiana, 47905. I am one of those people that's not been able to find much in concrete about how we're even going to start this program. And that bothers me. I've heard some very emotional presentations from several people about how bad the children need to be back in school and how bad they need this and how bad that. I've heard statistics about how so few children are dying from COVID-19. One of the statistics I have not heard or anybody discuss, do you know how many grandparents you have raising children in your school? Thanks to the drug epidemic, seems to have slid under the rug and not talked about of late. And I bet you $1 for every school, you have at least 5 grandparents or great-grandparents raising children in your schools. I don't care how many children the statistics tell you die from COVID-19. It only takes one of those children to go home to a 60 or 70-year-old acting parent. And the emotional stress that that child will be under if anything happens to their main support. With that, I would suggest we follow the CDC guidelines as closely as is possible. Masks need to be required. You look around this room and you can see that as adults we have difficulty social distancing. Children will not be able to social distance either. We have to figure out a plan on how to keep children safe, not just for them, but for the people who are providing for their care also. Thank you.
Hello, my name is William Heffel, United States Air Force. I have 4 children, ages 3 months to 12 years. I understand e-learning was less than desirable, but it was needed. I can see it on your faces, and it's really the question, that needs to be asked. Does the risk outweigh the benefit? Is the risk of even one kid dying worth any of this?
Nope.
No, it's not.
Nope.
So, I'm not the answer man. That's you all, again. But the first time you go through something, e-learning, for example, whatever it is not going to go according to plan when there was no plan. So that's not on you. That's not on anybody. Nobody could have seen this coming. But the gentleman, the coach who spoke about the student athlete who lived at home with 8 other people. What if 8 other people get sick? What if half of them die? What if no one dies? Does the risk outweigh the benefit? And I don't think it does. So, thank you.
Hi, my name's Amanda Weaver, 1121 Sour Gum Lane, Lafayette, 05. This past spring, my daughter was a student at Glen Acres. She was a 4th grader. She was a straight A student all the way through elementary school. Here at Sunnyside, she will be in the Excel and Challenge program. By all accounts, my daughter is a middle-class student, middle-class raised family, however you want to put it. Happy, healthy, intelligent, mentally sound, until we did e-learning. And then I had to deal with a child who was crying multiple times a week because she didn't understand why she couldn't see her friends, her family, her teachers, and e-learning was a joke. It was games online. And when you emailed the teachers, we were told, do not email us and ask if this work has been done. Look at the grade book online, which I forwarded to the principal because I thought that was the appropriate manner. Now, I have a mask on today out of respect for other people. However, nobody in here is social distancing. You guys gave us the option for e-learning and in person. I'm assuming you came up with the plan to do both because of the survey that was sent out in the email. I think you guys are doing a great job. I think the parents that want to send their kids should be able to, and the ones that are scared should do e-learning and should have never came to the meeting in the first place. You're not social distancing.
Hi, I'm Chris Burdick, 2401 Apache Drive, Lafayette. I'm a teacher and a coach at Tecumseh. I've been there, I think this is my 15th year, I lost track.
Mark Twain said there's three kinds of lies. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. So I'm going to try to avoid statistics as much as possible here. We did an activity at Tecumseh. I can't remember when it was, Brandon, but I think it was just before the shutdown, where we all got together as teachers and we broke up into groups and we role played different scenarios where we were in different families and everybody was broken up. I was a grandma, like 60-some years old, and had health problems, and Denise was my son, and we were playing this role as a family. There were 4 of us, and we had one person with a job in the family, and the other person lost their job, and we had a middle schooler, and the middle schooler ended up in jail. The mom lost her job. The dad was doing temporary work, just trying to make ends meet. And this was before we did this activity before COVID outbreak. At the end of this whole process, Denise had forgotten to buy my medicine. It's okay. She felt really bad about it. All this activity and role playing that we did, and and in the end, we found out these were real families in our community. We're lining up dominoes here, and a lot of our families have lined these dominoes up, and one domino knocks them over, and other dominoes are going to fall. And I feel like I'm hearing the families from our community saying things like, we're struggling, and families who aren't here. That's what I'm thinking about. Families who don't have time to come to this because mom's working 2 jobs, dad's trying to work his job at Wabash, and if the kids have to stay home, they're home by themselves. That's really concerning to me. The other point I wanted to bring up was, okay, I'm going to do it, statistics. If you go to Wikipedia and you look up coronavirus deaths, the peak of our deaths in Indiana was 50 on April 22nd. I taught science for a while too, better part of 20 years. I think it was 2 days ago, 1 death in Indiana. So I understand the point. We don't want 1 death. But what's this going to lead to in terms of families' survival? I think we really got to ask that question too. We got to be balanced between both. And I heard Mr. Barnheiser point out some statistics that are true about kids experiencing anxiety about what they're going to do. They're by themselves at home while mom and dad are at work. And of course, you ask them to do e-learning. I don't think they're going to turn on the computer. The other thing I wanted to share before I sit down is April 20th study, International Journal of Nursing Studies. I was looking this whole time, even while we were trying to teach kids, what's the efficacy of masks, the efficiency of masks. I wanted to know this because I taught science for the better part of 20 years. And there were no studies in communities. All the studies came from hospitals. And this one was another one, and I'll just give you a little portion of it. Randomized controlled trials in healthcare workers showed that respirators, if worn continually during a shift, were effective, but not if worn intermediately. I've seen a number of people, I'm watching the crowd, taking the masks off, putting them on. That's intermediate wearing. Medical masks were not effective, and cloth masks even less effective. So we're selling ourselves a bill of sales if we think that we're going to stop the spread of a respiratory virus by wearing masks. Now, I understand that it gives us a little comfort to wear them, but I didn't wear mine, and that's the reason why. I want to make a point that cloth masks are ineffective. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Caden Souders, 609 North 30th Street, and thank you for everybody for coming here today to state your points on this situation. When the whole virus started and we were doing e-learning, I am mostly a hands-on learner. I got to do stuff with my hands. I go and ask questions to the teacher. And while doing e-learning, when I send out an email, I want to get an email back till the next day or the next 2 days. I had some teachers that didn't understand what I was asking through the email, so then they never responded to the email. Some of the older teachers at Lafayette Jeff didn't understand how to work Canvas through not seeing us on a day-to-day basis and having us try to do things that we weren't able to do on the computer, as well as that trying to like circle a question, and we're not able to do that because we don't have the right equipment to achieve that. And I started out second semester with a 3.8 GPA, and at the end of the year I was down to about 3.38, and I didn't understand why, because I knew I tried my hardest in every class and was turning all my assignments in on time, but most of the stuff that they're trying to have us do, they aren't teaching us. They're just saying, oh, here's the work, and now you need to do it. And I think when we're more in the classroom, they explain to us like, oh, here's the book page, you go to here, you read this, and then you answer the questions. Some of my classes don't even have an online book, so how am I supposed to do the work if I can't do that while I'm in school? And that's all I got. Thank you.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me if I don't move it? Yeah. My name's Stephanie Pollard. I live on 3430 Summertime Trail, 47909. And I've heard a lot of people talk about the effectiveness of masks and the e-learning and the questions about, the safety of the elderly people at home. Or like my son's friend, his mother has an illness, and if he brings it home to his mother, she'll die. There's a lot of concerns. Mask, hand sanitizer every, 300 feet, whatever. My question is, my son's 11, he has ADHD. My house is only 1,200 feet, 1,200 square feet, and I have to ride his ass just to wash his hands at home. Who's going to be following my son around? Who's going to make sure if he's sick? Because I know before COVID, when my children were sick, he wasn't allowed to go to the health room. Are all the teachers going to be on the same page? Because they weren't for the e-learning. I had a teacher that I didn't even know was his teacher, because she never emailed me until the last week of school, and then blamed me, even though I emailed her twice. I don't want to just stand here and complain. I'd like to offer some ideas. If we're going to do e-learning, it needs to be done just like an online class. All the teachers need to have video chat seminars to teach these kids. And I do feel like the lady who was really mad who left out of here, she, anyway, it needs to be something that the kids are actually going to learn from, because e-learning was a disaster. My son was making straight A's for the first time in his entire career as a student. He was even getting grades, doing work. COVID came to town and he didn't do nothing. And his teachers were proactive. I was proactive and he still failed. Because not all the teachers were on the same page. They did whatever they wanted. I feel that I don't feel comfortable with my children going to school, but if they're going to go to school, each and every teacher has to have the same rules, follow the same protocol, whether it's video chat, Zoom, whatever. Whether it's staggering the children going to school different times a day, 3 days a week, whatever the case may be. But according to what I saw, the plan is not going to be effective. You can have hand sanitizer sitting on every desk in the building. My son ain't going to use it. I'm going to tell you that right now. Somebody's going to catch corona, and it's going to be my son. And then who's going to be to blame? Because reasonably, we have to realize that they're children. They're children. They're not adults. And half the adults, not just in this room, at Walmart, wherever you go, some people don't even think this is a real thing. Some people think whatever they want to think. It don't matter what statistics and science says. We have to realize that and keep that under our hat when we're making plans for my greatest creation. Thank you.
Hi. Oh, that is not. Hi. My name is Jacob Garrett, 316 Bellingham Avenue, 47909. And we've had a lot of talk about the mental health of students and how they need to be in school to properly socialize and to properly, like, even feel right and to function correctly. But I'm a college student. At my summer job, I work with multiple people who are students at Jeff High School, sophomores and juniors. And yes, they want to go back to school, but they don't want to go back under these conditions. They are absolutely terrified of what might happen to them if they're forced to go back in an environment where people aren't all required to wear masks and where everything won't. There's no way to be sure that everything will be clean all the time. We were just talking about how not every student will use the hand sanitizer. Back when I was at Jeff a few years ago, I swear when I was in the bathroom, I would hear half the people walk out without even washing their hands. There is no way to keep every desk, every textbook, every door, every table, every surface clean all the time. So even if you do provide hand sanitizer everywhere and make everyone wear face masks, there's no way to make sure they still won't get it. Especially because even if you come up with a solid plan for social distancing in those tiny classrooms, there's no way to make sure everyone stays away from each other in the hallways or the cramped stairwells. When I was walking there at Jeff, when I was a student, there'd be nowhere to move because there would constantly be people completely surrounding me in the hallways during passing periods or walking out of the building. There needs to be a plan for e-learning that is fully developed. We've heard that e-learning didn't work in the fourth quarter of the last year, so time needs to be taken to fully develop a unified, concrete plan for e-learning, and if that requires pushing back the start of the school year, then that should be what is done, because we heard about not letting a student slip through the cracks, not letting a student die. That's still slipping through the cracks if a student dies, or if a teacher dies. And you're not just putting the students and teachers and staff at risk, you're putting all of their families and all of their friends at risk. You've got the parents, we've been talking about the parents that can't stop doing their jobs. If their son or daughter comes home with the coronavirus and infects them, then they'll be spreading it to all of their co-workers. It's not sustainable and it's not ethical to bring students and teachers back under the current guidelines.
Hi, my name is Jasmir, 2012 Valdez Drive. I am a student athlete at Jeff High School. And first I want to say that when we were out of school, e-learning was not the best at all, honestly. And when I was in school, the only thing I really wanted to try to do was make my mom proud. And when e-learning hit, I couldn't really do that because I lived in a house with like 11 people, always got distracted, always had to stop to do my work, and all of this, I had put stress on my mom because I wasn't doing my work. I couldn't really do it, didn't understand at all. And I feel like some people work in school for a reason, and with me, I work to try to at least impress somebody, since my mom's barely around when she works, and my stepdad's barely around because he works. And the only thing I've really been able to do is watch my brothers and sisters, and it's nothing really nothing to them because they don't understand. But what I'm trying to say is, I work in school because I want to impress somebody, and really I want to have an education where I can learn better, and also so I can be with people, my teammates, my classmates, my coaches, and I can't really do that if I'm at home doing nothing or we're trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with my life. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Myra. I live at 3420 Equinox Terrace, 47909. I have a second grader at Earhart and an 8th grader at Tecumseh. I had this thing written up for you guys, but it's pretty much all already been said. Sorry. I did just want to, I'm sorry. I already forgot what I was going to start out with. But anyway, e-learning. Yes, we hated e-learning. It was very difficult with, two working parents and all, but our experience was actually a good one. It was a time for my boys to be able to grow up a little bit. There was consequences to their grades falling if they did. Communication with teachers was amazing. I thought it was great. Every assignment, I got an email for it. I got an email every assignment they had, and they were really long emails, but I sat there and read them and made sure my kids were doing what they were supposed to be doing. So I believe that e-learning is probably the best way to go, but if you are considering opening up schools, I think the mask should be required. I mean, I work at the hospital, and I do testing on hearts, and I spend about 30 to an hour in a COVID positive room, and this mask is what I wear with goggles. So the mask obviously worked if I haven't gotten sick or my family hasn't gotten sick. So if you do send kids back to school, they do need some kind of mask, and I do not know how you're going to be able to social distance with so many kids in class, but I guess that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gail Gray. I live at 806 Sunrise Avenue, 47904. I have been a staff member and a coach in LSC for 40 years. So I'm on the high end of this. I do not envy you. This is the toughest year of my 40 that I have been in LSC, and I think it is for everyone. And obviously what you're trying to do, and what people are trying to do, I think across the nation for the most part, is to come up with a plan that can satisfy most everybody, that you give choices to people. And I think that I respect you all for that. I respect the suggestions that I've heard, that were given last week, that are given this week from my fellow coaches and teachers and parents and students. Those are important. And I do believe that if you have a plan where students are brought back into school, that we need to also emphasize that we need to take care of not just them, but also all the staff members that are in the buildings, all of us. And part of doing that, the very first step, and science does speak to this, I respectfully disagree with a previous speaker, that the first step can be wearing masks. And I think that if you are having people come into the students, come into the building, particularly in the 7th and 8th grade, new statistics, one of the reasons why we don't have statistics on kids is because there haven't been studies done on that, because everybody was paying attention to my generation. But now they are studying the younger people. And what they're finding out is that they are carriers here, okay? And that in the age group from 7th grade on, that they can be asymptomatic. Very important to know. And a mask is the first step. If we need to have the parents, need the kids come to school for whatever reason, they can help, I'm sure, with our education to tell their kids, hey, this is important. Wear your mask. here's a mask, wear a mask. We can give them masks. And I think that that's number one. And then we can do the hand washing and all the other stuff. But I really want to know one thing. Are the suggestions and the comments that you have heard, is that really going to make a difference? Or have you already decided on the plan? Is it so important? Is it so important that you make a decision tonight rather than waiting and seeing what happens? Cases in Tippecanoe County have surged almost to the point of when we left. And it's the same way throughout the state of Indiana. And that matters. Okay, it matters. And I just, that's a question that I'm asking you because I don't know. You said you were going to tell us the plan. What's the hurry? Okay, what's the hurry? Thank you for your work, appreciate it.
My name is Amanda Gentry. This is my daughter Isabella. I live at 1409 Holly Drive. I spoke last week. My issues last week were addressed. However, I'm here representing my daughter. She keeps asking me about how everyone's talking about the mental health of kids being forced to stay home, how school is a safe environment for a lot of kids, being a trial assistant. At Edgelia, I work with all those kids. I cried that first month because I was so worried about my kids that I couldn't see. Sorry. My daughter is concerned, terrified to go back to school. She wants to go back to school. She wants to go see her friends. She talks to her best friend every day, loudly, giggly, via FaceTime, Google Duo for her. But she would much rather do e-learning and know that her friends are safe than to go back in person. I did ask permission from her to mention this, and she gave me permission, and I asked her numerous times, so this isn't at a spur of the moment. She does see a therapist. She's been seeing a therapist for a while for anxiety and things like that, and I asked her, is it okay to bring that up? And she said yes. Since March, every single session that she has had, majority of it has been fear of going back to school. We talk about the mental health of the kids that can't go to school. We need to address the kids that want to go to school, their mental health who are terrified to go back. I have tried everything I can to reassure her. I told her I will make the best decision I can for you. She's 11. She shouldn't have to be worried. As far as e-learning has been brought up, it's been brought up numerous times these last 2 weeks. Yeah, it was rough. My kids did excel because I made them. I held them accountable. They are 11 and 13. They are older. I don't even know how we do it with kindergartners. I feel for you people, I really do. But for your older students, my 13-year-old, I forced him, you are 13, you need to grow up, you need to be responsible. I will help you in any way that you can, but you need to be an advocate for your education. You need to be the one that emails your teachers and says, I don't understand. And if they can't help you, then you need to tell me and I will get the help that you need. So that's my focus on e-learning. My third and final point is masks. We know that they should be required. I think the corporation should provide them. We can't ask these kids who can't supply pencils for their kids to require them to bring in masks. I can't tell you how many pencils I buy because kids can't afford to bring them in. How many kids are on free and reduced lunch that can't afford masks? I do know that there's an organization here in Lafayette that does provide free masks for people who ask for them. However, we can't expect them to provide masks for every single student in LSC, West Lafayette, Parochial, and TSC. That's a lot of kids. I just saw today, and it kind of made me chuckle, and I shared it with my team. A lady talking about how when kids go back to school, and you have your kids that are going to be still picking their nose under their mask. You have the kids that are going to be pulling it down and chewing on it. You have your kids that are going to be flinging it. Everyone keeps focusing on the older kids, and we need to address that this issue is going to be with the little kids as well. We can't get adults to wear masks. We have a little more control of our older students, but I'm sorry, I can't get a kindergartner to keep his hands out of his pants. How am I supposed to keep him to get a mask on? That's all.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Wickstrom. I live at 4025 Pennypackers Mill Road. Like many of the other parents, I feel like I'm damned if I do, I'm not damned if I don't, right? If I send my kids to school, I am chancing them getting sick or somebody in my home getting sick. If I keep them home from school and I do e-learning, I risk their social and academic health. So what do you do? All I know is that right now, the way the plan is written, I can't make that decision because I don't feel confident in the fact that if my child goes to school, they're going to remain safe. And I can't trust the fact that if I choose e-learning, what's that structure going to look like? I've seen that TSC is hiring a third party who will facilitate the e-learning. I think that's fantastic. I think we need to understand as parents, if we choose e-learning, what is that going to look like? Do you guys expect teachers who are already trying to run their classroom to also run e-learning? That's not realistic. So I ask you to please take a look at the plan and make it clearer for us parents who have to decide what's best for our child. I think you're on the right path, and I think we need to have those options so that every parent can make the decision that's best for them and their family. But we need to have more information. We've talked a lot about social distancing and a lot about masks. I agree with all of those things. I don't think there's any way you're going to keep social distancing when you have a classroom full of 32 children. We need to look at those things. We need to understand how that's going to work in each individual case. One thing we've not discussed, which I'm shocked about, is temperature screenings. Businesses across the country, including the one I work for, are requiring temperature screenings the minute you walk in the door. So we talk about these parents who don't feed their children, or who don't help them with their homework, who aren't there in the mornings when they leave. Those parents will send their children to school when they're sick. If you don't have temperature screenings, you will not catch that. We live in a community where there are hospitals who will help us get those resources. We can figure it out. So I don't want to hear that money is the reason we can't afford thermometers. Thank you.
My name is Mason Killebrew, 509 South 26th Street. Speaking off of what that one woman said, she said she has time to read through those long emails, and some parents, a lot of parents actually aren't there to read through those and help their kids with it. So I don't think she was just speaking off of her personal situation. It's not really a majority, I don't think. And me going in my first year of high school, I really would like to enjoy that experience. And also, I started football last year, but I got injured half of the year, so I didn't really get to learn the basics. So this year, I think I'm really have to learn those ground rules. And if we don't open schools, then I really won't get to learn all what I need to about sports to be successful with it. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
My name is Angelus Moss, 3100 Prairie Lane, and I'm gonna piggyback off of what someone else said about masks. My mom's a CNA, and there's a reason they can't wear the cloth masks, because they're not droplets. They don't. People might think just because it covers your face and when you sneeze, you don't see it come out. It doesn't always protect you. And also, I'm a student athlete, and I know multiple people on my team that don't eat 3 times a day unless they go to school, that don't have parents there to help them out. Like what what the guy before me said. He said some people don't have those parents there in the morning to help them out. Well, how do you learn when the teacher's not there to show you how to do something and your parents aren't there? Or you have to watch your siblings. Like, I have a 4-year-old brother who's about to start preschool. Am I scared he might get it? Yeah. But am I scared that he's gonna grow up missing out on school and friends and all the good times you make when you're young, growing up? Yeah. No, I just want you guys to know. I just want you guys to know that as a student athlete, I'm in my freshman year, and before I started football, I was getting in trouble. Football helped me, sports helped me get out of trouble. So if you guys cut off school, we cut off sports, and I feel like a lot of people will get back into being in trouble that they're not in. That they're not in school for those 7 hours with teachers who care about what they do and care about their future. Sometimes people need motivation to keep on going, and when you're in online school and you're sitting in the room trying to do the work, you don't really have that motivation.
Hello, my name is Charlie Hammer. I live at 690 Old Farm Road, and for many times at Lafayette Jeff High School has been used in negative connotations in the media. That is 2.5 miles south of Lafayette Jefferson High School. So thanks for everybody for coming. We're here for a reason tonight, and that's because we care about our kids and we care about the school. I'm going to come from a little bit different perspective and let you know I don't have any kids in school now. I'm a parent of 3 graduates from Lafayette Jefferson High School, and proud to say that. They received an excellent education at Lafayette Jefferson High School. I have an 05 graduate, an 07 graduate, and a 10 graduate, all of which participated in multiple sports, athletics, music programs, and now I would say they're successful adults. Now, I have to give you my definition of success of those children. They all got an education, they all have jobs they're paying taxes on, and they no longer have the same address as me. With that said, options are available. Neat thing is we've heard people come up and say here and there whether they want to send their kids back to school. If any of those 3 kids that I raised were here tonight and I said everything, they would finish that sentence with, is a decision. Because we started that saying in our home well before middle school. Many times I don't even have to say it anymore. They leave on a Friday night or come home from whatever they're doing now and say, well, I know, everything's a decision. It is. And I commend you as a board and administrators and faculty and staff involved with this to put together the 52-page document that is online. And if you have not read the whole document, I encourage you to do so. It's very well put together, and I know it took a lot of time to do that too. One of the items that my kids excelled with is the diversification of the education that they got at Lafayette Jefferson High School. They left Lafayette Jefferson High School with a very, very diverse education. They're around all kinds of people, all kinds of teachers, all kinds of students, and they benefited from that. They benefit from it today, even as we speak. They wouldn't have had that had they not gone to Lafayette Jefferson High School. I loved it so much with my kids there. I still volunteer. I've been volunteering in the athletic department for over 16 years and still film for football, and I like being around kids. And some of those kids need that social interaction there as far as, whether they're going to wash their hands, whether they're going to wear a mask, whether it's here or there. Again, I go back to my first statement. Everything's a decision. If they come in and they make the right decision or they make good decisions, that's great and up to them. The other thing is kids need teaching and group participation. I know my significant other, I watched her teach 5th grade in another school corporation from our virtual dining room classroom. It was very interesting as far as how that worked. It's not the same. I would ask that if you do bring it back, that you do require the masks. I just purchased 50 in the store today to have extra in a classroom because those 5th graders are not going to have them all the time. So I also would ask that you make sure that you supply the teachers with what they need to make an effective classroom for the students. With, let's see, elements have been put in place to give it a try. So I ask that we give it a try. Again, everything's a decision. If they choose not to send them to school, that's fine. Go e-learning. If they come back to school, it's a great day to be a Bronco.
Greenberg, 1416 South 19th Street. Just wanted to echo some of the comments with e-learning. I have 2 children who did it for the last 9 weeks. My youngest struggled more than my older one did. He just could not sit still. He wasn't focused. He would say within 10 minutes, I need to take a break. It just did not work for him. And my children have been in high abilities, and I know for a fact that he did not get all of the learning, all of the teaching, all of everything that he could have had he been in the high abilities within the classroom. And that scares me if the only option is online for this coming year. My children need to be in school for that, and I'm fearful that other people's fears will dictate what my children need. I'm a nurse at one of the hospitals. I work with 2 different units. One of them is a COVID unit. So I certainly don't minimize any of the illnesses, any of the deaths that have occurred that I've seen, but I am not afraid to send my children back to school, and I'm not afraid to have them back around their friends. My youngest has not seen any kids his age since we shut down, other than maybe passing by out on walks or whatever. Again, I'm not minimizing any of the things surrounding COVID, but I'm not afraid to go into work. I'm not afraid to come home at the end of the day, and I'm not going to be afraid to send my kids to school because I'm not going to live in fear. I want to move forward, and I believe that we are in a wonderful community with very smart people, and I believe that we can figure out a way to do that. So I believe that there needs to be the online option for those that are concerned, but for those of us that know for sure their kids will be better in school, there needs to be that option as well.
My name is Davion Cheeks. My address is 321 South 27th Street, and I have a friend group. I think there's like 9 or 10 of us in it, and we all used to go to my friend Colin's house. Even when like COVID hit, like, and we got kicked out, we all went there because like, if we tried to do our like schoolwork, we didn't really have motivation at all. Like, my mom's always working; she works a full-time job, and that's how it is for most of us. And like, my friend Jordan, he had good grades like all throughout the first semester and the third quarter, but when e-learning hit, he really slumped a lot down because he wasn't allowed outside, and like, he didn't have motivation or anything to do like his stuff, so his grades started dropping. And like Coach Shanley, he was one of my teachers, he'd even call me and ask me like what was up with him and stuff, and I'd be like, I don't know, like, cause like when e-learning hit, he didn't even care anymore. He just got on his Xbox and played the game all day and night because like, oh, I really don't have a lot of consequences in that and stuff like that. And my mom, she's anemic, so she, like, if she gets sick, she could have like a high chance of dying from it. And she still wants to send me back to school because like, she knows that that's like how I succeed. Like, I'm more of a hands-on learning, like Caden and stuff. I'm more of a hands-on, so I need to talk to my teachers and stuff like that. Cause if I don't, then my grades drop. Cause I had good grades, so I had like A's and B's. And like, when fourth quarter hit, I started getting like C's and stuff. Like, in classes that I had A's in, one of them dropped to a D, and I like had to get that all the way back up. Cause like, I don't know, it just like wasn't for me. Like working on the surface and stuff, I just can't do it without like help. And like, my mom really wants to see me succeed, because if I do, I'd be the third person in my family to graduate. The other two being my grandma, which is also a teacher, who would like to go back to work. She works in Chicago. And my aunt, which is now a college student. And that's all I have to say.
Hello, my name is Brandon Diaz, 1815 North 27th Street. So, growing up, I went to LCC, School Corporation. Then last year I switched to LSC. But growing up as a kid, my mom, my dad would always go to work. My dad is a truck driver, so I don't know when he'll be back home. And he's usually always gone working. My mom is always usually gone working. And me and my brothers and sisters are at school. That is their time to be able to rest at home and not worry about us knowing things we're not supposed to do. My little brother and sister, they're very smart kids. My little brother, he always gets A's and B's. My little sister always gets A's and B's. But when we started e-learning, they had a lot of trouble getting the work done. My little brother, he's really smart, and it was such a struggle for him to get his grades to stay up. During that period of time, he got like a C, and then we also have an Xbox at home, and he loves playing games. And since we're not at school, he's always playing games constantly, which he didn't do his work. And for me, I like going to school because I have something. So when I go to school, I can show my parents that I can do good things. My dad, he was the only one to go to college, but he never finished. My 8 uncles and aunts. But I want to go to college. I want to do good. I want to be able to take care of my parents. My dad is 55 years old. He has diabetes. My mom is 45. She has diabetes too. But yes, I do get worried. What if I get sick? I have asthma, and I bring it back to my parents because I don't want them to get sick. Because if I get sick and they get sick, who's to take care of my little brother and sister? But when they're at work, and if we stay at home to do e-learning, I'm going to have to worry about my little brother and sister. I'm going to have to take care of them because they're only like 11 and 10. They don't know that much, like how to take care of themselves. So I have to take care of them. I have to worry about them. And then also, on top of that, I have to worry about getting my work done. And being at home, I don't have a lot of motivation to do the e-learning. I prefer to go to school because I have a routine. I wake up like at 4, I go work out, go to school, do that period of time in school, I do my work, socialize. After that, I go to football, come back home, do the same thing over and over. But when I'm at home, I don't have none of that stuff. Like, I would go to sleep like at 3, try to do my work. My teachers, they are very good teachers, and they helped me learn stuff. Because when I was at school, I felt like I was learning, but then during the time of e-learning, I felt like I wasn't learning anything at all. And I barely passed school, and
My name's Harmony Sky. I live at at 1421 Fairfax Drive, Lafayette, 47909. I had a second grader at Earhart and a sixth grader at Sunnyside when we went to the e-learning options. We actually had a really good experience. Our teachers were amazing. They absolutely helped me through it. It definitely was chaotic. I think we all panicked because nobody knew what to do, but nobody knew what to do. The teachers didn't know what to do. The parents didn't know what to do. We all made the best of it. We aren't all in the same boat, but we are all in the same storm. So if we can all be kind about it instead of having all the little comments, that would really be helpful. The attitude about anything that we choose to do, whether we go to school, whether we do online, whether we wear a mask, whether we don't, the attitude starts with your parents at home. If we tell our kids, hey, we have to wear a mask, we're gonna be glad about it. We don't need to say, man, that sucks, we gotta wear a mask. We have to be positive about it. If that's what we're gonna be dealt, that's what we have to do. My son also has an IEP. E-learning was a little bit more difficult for him. His grades did fall. My daughter, though, is more on the higher side, and I found that she actually struggled because I had to give more attention to my son than I could to my daughter, so she felt very cheated. I don't know what the right answer is, but I know that, like I said, we're not all in the same boat, but we're in the same storm, and we all need to kind of approach this together the best that we can.
Hi, my name is Eric Cupp. I live at 50 Merganser Court, 47905. We've been in here for an hour and a half, so I'm a lively teacher, so if you can hear my voice clap once, you can hear my voice clap twice, 3 times. Thank you very much. I think we're all back in it. I've been an LSC student my entire life. I went to Vinton, Sunnyside when we were still the Stars. I went to Tecumseh. I graduated from Jeff in 2012. I worked at Murdoch doing the Focus After School program. I was also a substitute teacher. I am the parent of a 5-month-old daughter and the husband of an IU health nurse. I'm currently a chemistry and biology teacher at Jeff and the head boys soccer coach. I'd like to propose a plan for running the 2021 school year regarding the safety of students, staff, and their families. I propose a hybrid system specific for all schools. My current plan, I'm going to give you Jeff and Tecumseh at the beginning, and then I'll continue with the other schools. Number 1, all classes are online using Canvas as our LMS. Teachers have the exact same class load as they would have normally. E-learning training must be required and provided for all LSC staff. The spring was crisis management. The fall will be e-learning. Students, we hated it too. We wanted to see you guys, trust me. Teachers are in the building. This is point number 2, sorry. Teachers are in the building, socially distanced during their contract hours. Those with medical restrictions are not, as long as they have doctor's orders. Point 3, those students who are free and reduced and can show that they do not have Wi-Fi access in their home are allowed to come to school. If they cannot prove need, they must stay at home. Point 4, meals and transportation are still provided for those at school. Those not at school still have access to meals in the same way they've been provided this summer, or more efficiently. Point 5, PPE is provided for all staff and students in the building. Point 6, students who are at school are the responsibility of the teachers at the school, but those students are allowed to move from room to room only at teacher discretion. That's for teachers to decide how that's going to work. That's, again, for Jeff and Tecumseh. For elementary schools, including Sunnyside, they'd have to be different. Point 1, if families cannot provide care at home, they need to show that to the school corporation. Then, same rules apply for Jeff and Tecumseh. Point 2, we would use some of the high school and Tecumseh rooms, because hopefully we would have less students, to create space for elementary students to socially distance. Point 3, because elementary classrooms often have Title I aides, as I experienced at Murdoch Elementary School and at Vinton Elementary School, the students can be split into multiple, probably only 2 rooms, okay, with the teacher and the aide working simultaneously with the 2 groups of students. This allows for maximum social distancing as well as safety and control of those students to make sure that they are safe. For all schools, masks are required. That's point 1. Point 2, sports are allowed for any student enrolled in LSC courses, online or in person, but all CDC recommendations should be followed at practices and games. quick point there. I'm head coach of the boys soccer team. I provided masks for all of my athletes, and they have to wear them at every practice. Thank you. I'm on my last point here. Point 3, as you were indicating, special education students' online or in-person classes are decided based on the input of their guardian and teacher of record. These points allow for the informed choice of students, staff, and their families. Thank you.
Maribel Salazar Masudi, 2545 Parliament Court, West Lafayette, Indiana, 47906. I just have one point really, because we talked about everything. We're worried about kids falling behind. And I sit there and I think honestly I can speak from my personal experience. My father came from Mexico with no formal or very little education. And only the clothes on his back. You know, we worry about the kids and thinking, no, they can't do this, they can't handle it. Mom works a job, dad works a job, no one's there, they're alone. He lived in Mexico probably 3 years on his own with his siblings, and they survived. They came here into a new world with not knowing the language. No ELO program that we have today, because he came to LSE. He went through Washington, Sunnyside, and St. Jeff. Yet with the help of our staff, in a time with no help that he had, no resources, and still helping the family. My grandparents did not speak English. In a house full of children, he had to help, he had to clean, he had to cook, he had to work. Yet he was able to graduate, learn English, take some college courses, and be a good role model. And now that is one of the main reasons I sit there and I think about why I became a teacher and why in LSE. And he's the reason, and my co-workers are. Now we complain about e-learning. Like many have said, it wasn't e-learning, we were thrown in. I was at home with a sick baby the entire week. And then I was texted that the kids are coming home. So I had a sub giving my iPads to my kids, but we survived and we made it. Now with proper planning and proper time, we can actually execute this right. And the kids will survive, they are resilient. And if they're given the expectations, and we are firm and we tell them what we expect and make them follow through, they can do it. And this is a time where we need to realize other people around the world are suffering and we're complaining like my kids only playing on the Xbox. You know, they need to figure out what's important. And they can do it. Many have done it and are doing it. And I don't know our population, I don't know our numbers exactly, but we have a lot of Latinos that are going to be struggling, but they will survive. And I know my people will help. I know plenty of people that are already waiting and asking me, how can we reach out to the parents to make sure our ELLs don't fall behind or are clueless to what's going on. You know, thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Julia Sibley. I'm at 719 South 11th Street in Lafayette. I did speak last week, and so I just want to bring up a couple points. But for those that don't know, I have a going into 3rd grade at Jalea, and then also a rising 6th grader here in Sunnyside. First off, I want to ask, is anyone from the city here tonight? Would you please stand? The city of Lafayette, city government, please stand. Anyone from the county government, please stand. Anyone from the state government, please stand. I don't think I have to ask about federal. The job of this corporation is to educate students. We heard tonight that we expect so much from our schools outside of just educating our students. Problems that have come up tonight that we're asking our schools to solve for us are not necessarily fair to be on the shoulders of the school. Calls for funding for the school is not come from these people, okay? Almost every single person in this auditorium, almost, can vote. We have a duty as voters to demand the things that we are asking of our school tonight from our government. I place on every single one of you that can vote, get out there, write your representatives, write your leaders at all levels, so that we don't have to have these stories and coming to the school district and begging for their support to help alleviate things like hunger and services and support for families. Okay, it's on all of us. Now I'd like to address the board. You guys have done an awesome job. You've heard a lot. You've considered a lot. We still need to see CDC guidelines being followed before reopening. I do want to echo again that we need to have more communication for parents so that as they are making their decisions as to if they're going to bring their children to school or if they're going to do e-learning, what the implications are for their individual student and their individual situation for those students. I mentioned before, I have my Sunnyside kid wants to come back. Doesn't want to wear a mask. We've had that discussion. He'll wear a mask so he can come back. My third grader, terrified. Just like the young lady that was up here earlier this evening. Oddly enough, just so a data point, my kids actually did better in e-learning. We had 2 straight A's. Wow. It can happen. It was not easy. It sucked, but it happened. So it's not the end of the world. Thank you. And the e-learning that we had before was a stopgap. I'm asking all of you to consider masks, CDC requirements for opening, and then also planning on some form of comprehensive, thought out online learning, because it was mentioned last week, it's going to be necessary at some point because of an infection. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Amy Freeman. I live at 911 Royce Drive in Lafayette. I wanted to thank you for hearing my story and perspective at last Monday's board meeting and quickly all agreeing that this plan needs more consideration. I understand what a difficult decision you have as a team that's going to affect our community today. I too love my community and everything about it. I'm a Jeff grad of 2002, and I've always felt safe and loved in my hometown of Lafayette. I entered LSC in 3rd grade at Edgelia, which is where I happen to teach 4th grade currently. I'm proud to work for a corporation who's made me who I am today. However, for the first time, I do not feel safe returning to school specifically. The mask mandates around our community on the west side and at businesses give a sense of safety, but these currently are only being recommended to schools, and we are unable as educators to enforce them. It's also stated that Governor Holcomb is considering a mask mandate for schools, but this would still only affect grades 6 through 12. This concerns me greatly for myself and colleagues who teach at the elementary level. Not only will the students need help with the new routine of wearing a mask, but this is also an age where proximity to their teacher is what makes them feel safe and learn best at school. I'm really proud to be a part of a district that's one-to-one technology. I believe this is one of the best things about our corporation is that technology is always at the forefront. We are innovative, creative, and always trying for the next edge in our teaching. I just attended 8 hours of professional development last week thanks to all the amazing educators who put it together and made it work. We always make it work in LSC. Please give us a chance as teachers to discuss these big changes in their lives with them for a time and to see a downward trend in our COVID numbers before returning. We can make this happen by utilizing our expertise in technology, especially for the elementary grades who will undoubtedly be more affected than the higher grade levels with the masks. The training time it will take us to teach procedures and routines to our kids will use time out of our instructional minutes to do so correctly and thoroughly. By teaching the students the procedures online before returning to school, teachers will have time to explain these new routines in a safe environment and focus on getting to know their students and their levels without having the fear of spreading the virus on a daily basis. If given this online learning time, students will be ready for the changes as they walk through the door, and it will be more seamless for everyone. I ask that we as a school system embrace the changes for e-learning for at least 9 weeks to give ourselves a chance to get more safety precautions in place and take the time to talk to our students safely through the plans before returning, instead of trying to do it face-to-face with the magnitude of changes thrust upon them. There will be ground to make up academically, but don't worry. I'm confident when I say that LSC teachers have been worrying and thinking all summer about what to do. I work with some of the most talented individuals, and it will be our mission to not only rise above this difficult time, but learn and grow from it. Thank you for your consideration, and I pray for you making your decision tonight.
Hello, my name is Jordan Bonfido. I live at 615 Cortland Avenue. I am a mother of 2 at Adelia, and I want to thank you for opening up the floor tonight. And I want to give a big thank you to all the young folks, all the student athletes that are advocating for themselves and their education. It makes me really proud to see you all out here, and the coaches who helped them get out here too. I'm a Jeff grad of 04. I see a lot of familiar faces who were there, who have taught me. So I know how much they care about the students. I also was speaking to a friend of mine who's a teacher. She teaches 4th grade, not in this district, but in a district very similar to ours. And she told me that she doesn't know what's gonna happen. She has dreams every night. Her anxiety is out of control, but she said, I already know I would take a bullet for my kids, so I guess at this point, I'm gonna have to be okay with getting COVID too. And that shouldn't be the reality. Our teachers should be able to have more faith in our reopening plan. I've also spoken to a lot of families with kids who are similar in age to my own, and most of them that are planning to send their kids back are doing so because nobody wants to do e-learning. It was rough, it was hard, but as so many have said in the last few comments before us, we were thrust into it. But they don't want to make that choice for a full 180 days of education. And they're doing so, and they have said, I fully expect that my kids will be sent home within the first several weeks or even the first couple of months. So whatever we do, we need to be sure that our teachers have the resources to plan for some kind of remote learning that is not thrust on them in a crisis. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet with my kids. We work, both my husband and I work full time. We had one that did e-learning last year, and it was tough enough now to have 2 that would be doing it too. I don't know what the right answer is, but I know that there's not enough information yet to make like a fully informed decision. But again, I thank you for your time tonight and for everybody being out here. Yeah, thanks. My name is Casey Brannon. I live at 1532 Shining Armor Lane, West Lafayette, Indiana. And I hope that we could go to the Facebook post. I don't know if you've seen, but it says, we may disagree, but we can still be friends. I'm terrified. I'm not a person that usually speaks my opinion. I'm just a go with the flow type of person. But I've just been boiling of like what to do, you know, good and bad. I'm also a parent. My son goes to TSC school. So we're putting our plans in because we know what their plan is and what he's going to do. I know there's not a right answer. A lot of people ask me as an educator, so what do you think that they should do? And there's no right answer, and I understand that. But I just think that it's the best answer, or the best option. I'm willing to do whatever I need to do to get back in school. I'm an educator. This is my second career. I feel like I should be at school. I'm hired as a teacher to be at school, and I want to do whatever I can do to be at school with my students. I know a lot of these questions that are being answered are going to be somewhat maybe answered when we have a plan. I know we just need a plan, so then we can go to A, B, and C, answer all these questions that are being asked. I am glad that there's options for the e-learning and that being at school for kids, but I also do hear a lot, like, what is the teacher's options? I know that there are some teachers at Jeff that are older, and I know they don't feel comfortable. I would not want anything to happen with them, but I guess I wish that I could see some teacher options. I know that some of them would feel a lot better. I worry about my kids all the time, especially in e-learning. I sent cards to every single one of them. I made phone calls, I made emails. I still in contact with them, just checking up on them, because as you've heard, a lot of high school students are having a hard time being at home. One of my students, I guess I'm thankful but not thankful, as I have communicated with her. She was unfortunately involved in one of the things that were happening downtown. When the lift was lifted up, a lot of high school kids and anybody was downtown. They just wanted to get out and do something. That was not the best option. I feel like I was able to direct her to the right resources. But one of my biggest concerns is I'm a culinary teacher at Jeff. We do a lot of hands-on, and I know there's going to be a lot of plans that we have to, a lot of things that we have to do differently, since the social distancing, wearing gloves, wearing masks, and that's fine. Although I will tell you, when my e-learning happened, it was a huge eye-opening experience, because I was telling them, okay, cook this. One of my things was a creative macaroni and cheese. I don't know how many kids did not have a box of macaroni and cheese, and that just broke my heart. As well as, so I feel like I don't know how I can teach culinary to the students that have no food at home. Numerous times they're like, Miss Brandon, this is what I made for supper because this is all I had. We can only practice measuring so much, like culinary is hands-on, we're making food. How can the kids make food if they don't have food at home? That's one of my biggest concerns. I also hope if we do the e-learning, that students can, or we can be at school, because I am not the best teacher when I'm at school. Especially my husband is working from home at Purdue, or from Purdue, and that is not a good situation. I mean, I love him, but like we are learning a lot of things about each other with all of us being at home. When this first started, I was, the clean freak. I washed down my my things from Walmart. I was like a clean freak. I love Lysol wipes even before this happened. But another thing I just keep, playing in my mind, everyone's like, when they get it from school, when they get it from school. And that may happen, I understand that. But I don't know how many times I've been to Walmart and I've seen 67-year-old grandma and grandpa without a mask, and not social distancing. And I'm just kind of concerned about how many times.
I'm going to need you to wrap it up.
Okay, all right. I guess I just think that we need to think about that there's other opportunities to get COVID or the virus from not school, from other places as well. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rachel McLaughlin. I live at 2323 North 26th Street in Lafayette. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm an art teacher in 2 elementaries here in Lafayette. Like Ms. Freeman, I just have some kind of questions still. I think the plan is pretty solid, but at the elementary level, I teach around 500 students, and I am maybe a little concerned about making sure we have safety precautions, especially for people like me who see more than the normal 25 kids or so that classroom teachers may have. So I'm looking forward to finding out more information, and again, I appreciate you opening this up for comment.
Hi there, Teresa Houston, 408 South 7th Street, Lafayette. We've been here a long time and we'll be very brief. Jefferson High School teacher. My husband also teaches at Jeff. 4 Jeff grads, 1 more coming up. She's a freshman. That means 3 people will be housed at Jefferson High School when school starts. Scary to me. Lots of room for infection. I want kids back in school. I want to be in school. But I think we need to be careful. We need to look at the numbers. We need to follow the CDC guidelines. Yes, e-learning was not easy. Parents, your teachers worked harder in e-learning than they do when your kids come to school. Please know this, please. These are not easy decisions. I too think that if we go straight back, we'll probably be back out within a few weeks. I hope not. I don't want that to happen. But I'm afraid that just because we're seeing local numbers climbing and we're not mandating masks, which I absolutely think we should, and we need to do the social distancing as much as we can. Schools are crowded, hallways are crowded, classrooms are not the biggest, many classrooms have no windows, lots of issues, lots of issues. Personal issue, my parents are 90 and 93. I would like to continue helping my siblings take care of them. I know that's not an issue for everybody. It's a personal issue. I've already told them that if I go back to school in August, I will not see them for quite some time. I cannot risk taking COVID to them. Thank you.
I just want to add on to what I said. My mom works from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., so she's really not there to, when we were doing e-learning, she wasn't really there to help me with anything. And when we were in school, we got out at 3:15 p.m., so she was already gone at work. And so I already got all the help I needed at school. But during e-learning, I don't really have the motivation to wake up real early and get my work done. So she doesn't really have much time to help me with all my work while she's getting ready for work and gonna leave for the day. And so I don't really get that down in my brain. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nicole Graves and I live at 1801 Maple Street. I am a healthcare worker and I, in April, was sick for 3 weeks. I had a fever for 11 days, the highest was 104.7. My COVID test came back negative, but we know that these FDA is not approved for these tests. I am concerned about the kids going back to school because the more kids that you have in school, the chances of infection are higher. I have 3 kids, a 2nd grader at Murdoch, a 6th grader at Sunnyside, and a 10th grader at Jeff. All 3 of them want to be back in school, and I support that. But there needs to be things in place that if we close again, for them to have an opportunity to have more access to Zoom. My soon-to-be 2nd grader had more Zoom meetings than the other 2 that were in 5th and 9th grade. I too have parents that are 80 and 65. I have a higher chance of bringing home COVID to my family, and if we bring our students in, we have a higher chance of bringing it home even more. We have not seen our parents. We see them from a distance. We have not been able to hug our loved ones because of COVID. I hope that your decisions are, taking into consideration the illnesses and the numbers that are going up, and that there is a solid plan in place. E-learning was not easy for us. I had 2 that thrived at it. My 9th grader did not. I have 2 children, the 6th and the 9th grader, that are going into higher grades, have IEPs. It was hard for them to utilize the IEPs in their resources rooms. I feel that if we had more of a plan of the high schoolers and the middle schoolers have a Zoom option to where they can drop into a resource room to get those questions for homework answered. I don't wish an illness on anyone. It was not fun for me. I couldn't breathe. So I hope you all, I don't envy being in your guys' shoes. And I hope you guys make a great decision for our kids. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jordan Buck. I live at 4109 Braxton Drive East, 47909. Sorry, I'm a lot of breath. I just ran here from babysitting some nieces and nephews. Okay, so let me begin by saying I'm a teacher at Tecumseh Junior High School. I'm the choir director there. My wife is a second grade teacher at Murdoch Elementary. I'm gonna take this off. I have 4 points that I strongly urge you to consider. 1, please make sure as we speak tonight, and we've had a lot of people speak. I've been watching on the live stream. Thank you guys. That we know the difference between anecdotal evidence and research fact-based evidence. That's something that we really need to consider when making these decisions. No one person's story should make the decision for a whole corporation. 2, I'd like everyone here to consider something that might seem controversial. Yes, we're here because we love our students. I know I love mine, my wife loves hers, but we're not just here because of students, we're here because of teachers, staff, nurses, administrators, secretaries, aides, cafeteria workers, bus drivers. Those are the people you need to also consider when you're making these decisions. 3rd, a lot of people have been pointing out that you have a choice. Parents have a choice. Students have a choice. Teachers do not. If you decide we go, we have to go. If you decide we stay at home, we get to stay at home. And I want you to strongly consider that point of view as well. My 3rd point, getting ahead of myself. I'd also like, for those of you who are saying, I learn better at school, I learn better when there's somebody in front of me, I learn better when I'm hands-on. If we do this right and in person, you still will not get those things. The closest person will be 6 feet away. Your hands-on is going to be digital anyway. So when you argue, I want to be in the building so someone can help me, that person can't help you in the same capacity that you're used to. So what you are wanting is still something that we cannot provide if we do in-person education. Lastly, thank you. Lastly, something that Gail Gray said earlier, and maybe other people have emphasized, you do not need to make this decision tonight. We have time. There's no need to make a decision for school to start in August. There's no reason why we have to start so soon. We have time. We should get as much data as possible. We should consider every single scenario before we make a decision. Thank you for your time.
I guess I'll tail end this. Jonathan Osher, 3480 South 18th Street, 47909. So, somebody once told me that figures don't lie, figurers do. I've heard a lot of people belt out statistics and everything like that. I work emergency response in 3 counties. This virus is very, very real. Oh, sorry if I offended anybody. This mask gives me anxiety and claustrophobia and crap like that, so I apologize. I signed up to provide emergency care for people in need. I knew what I was signing up for. When shit hits the fan, I go in. The teachers, they didn't sign up for that. So, obviously, it's very, very difficult to please everybody. I'm also the parent of a special needs child. I have 4 children. And Mrs. Clevenger can attest to how trying that one child was and how awesome he is doing because of all of your special needs students and plans and system that you have in place. A lot of special needs students rely on you guys. This county sucks for any kind of special therapy, especially if you don't have government insurance. So I know somebody said we shouldn't rely on the school to provide this stuff for us, but some of us really need you guys, you know? With 4 kids and my wife suffers from traumatic brain injury, and she has migraines that debilitate her, so she can't always help with the kids. E-learning, it was disastrous for our family, but that's because of our dynamics of everything we have to deal with. And you know, some of you might only have one working parent, and that's awesome. You don't want to send your kids to school, you want them to do the e-learning. I get it. If it works for you, awesome. It doesn't work for everybody. But one thing, if you do have to do e-learning, I would highly suggest that you guys do the e-learning that my oldest son does, where he has to log in and sits in front of a computer that has a webcam so he can interact with his teacher and the rest of his class. Instead of the e-learning that we have, that I was totally shocked by. I'd never experienced it before, only experienced what my oldest son had. So, obviously, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to blow you guys a lot of crap for whatever you guys pick. And I commend you on the job that you guys are doing to try to make it fair and safe for everybody. But I ask that you do think of the teachers that don't want to come to school, the teachers that feel that their health is at a huge risk if they come to school. So maybe if you guys set up equipment at their home, maybe they could teach from home on a digital learning. And maybe the parents that do need to send their kids to school, maybe you guys just have a classroom proctor that is there to keep those students on track. Well, the teacher can be at home, feeling safe, and still being able to do her job. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here this evening that would like to address the board? All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to start off by thanking all of you for being here and participating in local government and local government decisions. I assure you that none of my fellow board members and I have taken this lightly, and I absolutely know that no one in the administration has taken it lightly either. We have listened, we've kind of tallied up information from all the letters and all the comments that we've received. The plan is a fluid document. You will note in there that there's a lot of flexibility that has been built into that plan so that we can sort of dance as we come in contact with the disease this fall, because we know we're going to. I would point out that one of the modifications that we've made since last week is we are going to require masks of all employees and of 5th graders through seniors, okay? K through 4th graders have to have masks on them. We felt that it was asking a little bit much to try to keep them in masks all the time. Folks, again, I assure you that we have heard all of what you've said. We appreciate that. We're not going to make everyone happy here, okay? We're going to do the best we can. We have essentially 2 options available for parents here. Folks, if you are uncomfortable, you've got to get them into an e-learning program, all right? If you feel that the in-person piece of it is just super valuable, please rest assured we're going to do everything we can to keep your children safe here, for the duration of this pandemic. None of us want the kids sick. None of us want our faculty and staff sick. None of us want any family members that we've got at home going home sick either. So I do assure you that we have the best interests of not only our children, but also our faculty and staff in mind here. And with that, I will draw to a close here our public participation section of this meeting. We have one recommendation before us here tonight. This automatically comes back to us. We had a motion to table for 1 week. Tonight is the meeting to bring back the recommendation for the reopening plan, and that would be as modified during the past week. Mr. Huddle, do you have anything you wish to say about the plan?
Just that masks have been added, and also we are delaying the start of school a week. No matter when the decision is made, we feel we need at least a month to get organized in professional development for the whole e-learning, and also for every teacher, because if we do have to shut down, that's where we're headed. So we want to provide that for all teachers.
All right. With that, I would entertain a motion on the reopening plan.
Mr. President, we've heard an awful lot of information over the last week. I think the changes that we've made to the plan are a good first step. And I make a motion that we accept the Lafayette School Corporation reopening plan as presented by the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Bellamy. All right. Thank you, Mr. Clemens. Ladies and gentlemen,
Mr. President, before we take a vote, I'd also like to add that we'll grant the superintendent flexibility to make the changes that the CDC, the state, the county health department, or any other governing body puts forward for us to make our school a better place to be.
thank you for reminding us that that's in there, Steve. Again, folks, I just want to point out to everyone here that this is something that is not an easy decision. I would assure you that all of us have thought long and hard about this, and again, we certainly wish we weren't in this position that we're in here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, is there any other discussion from the board about the reopening plan here this evening? Mrs. McCarter?
Mrs. Walton? Yes. Dr. Squally?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner? Mr. Belting?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Moulton?
Yes.
Mrs. Gregg?
All right. Are there any members of the board that wish to report anything for the good of the public here this evening under board reports? Mr. Huddle, do you have any information to present to the board?
No.
All right. At that point, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance this evening.
sorry, but yeah, exactly. As a